The Girl Who Collected Gray. In the town of Monoton, everything was sensible. Everything was efficient. Everything was, quite simply, gray. The buildings were the color of rain clouds, the streets were the color of dust, and the people only ever looked straight ahead. They were too busy being practical to notice anything else. But there was one splash of sunshine in Monoton. Her name was Elara, and she wore a raincoat the color of a dandelion, bright, bold, and entirely unnecessary. Elara loved gray, but only because gray made everything else stand out. One morning, a group of sensible townsfolk strode past a perfectly smooth, perfectly gray riverstone lying right in the path. No one even glanced down. But Elara stopped. She saw how the sunlight, weak as it was, caught the tiny swirls of mica in the stone surface. "Oh," she whispered, tucking the stone into her pocket. "A captured whisper of the mountain." Elara took the gray stone home, placed it on her desk, and considered it deeply. It was practical, but it felt incomplete. It needed a story. She crushed soft red berries until they became deep crimson paint. She collected yellow pollen from the one wild mustard flower growing outside the town limits. She scraped blue dust from an old piece of discarded chalk. Slowly, carefully, Elara painted the stone. She didn't change its shape or its gray foundation, but she gave it new life. The gray river stone became a sleeping ladybug, tucked in tight against the cool stone surface. Soon, she found a rough, twisted twig and decided it was a slumbering forest dragon. The practical neighbors peered through Elara's window. "Twigs and stones, silly pursuits," muttered Mayor Sterling. But Elara didn't mind. Her room, though simple, was now the most exciting place in Monoton. A rusty, ignored gear became a blazing orange sun. Every useless gray thing had become a necessary bright treasure. Then, one cold afternoon, something terrible happened. The fog of practicality rolled in. It wasn't just ordinary fog. It was thick, heavy, and smelled like stale routines. It swallowed the last bit of daylight and made everyone feel terribly tired and joyless. Then the gas lamps failed. Plunged into sudden absolute darkness, the practical people of Monoton panicked. They bumped into each other, crying out that efficiency was impossible without light. They had forgotten how to look sideways or upwards. They only knew the path ahead. Out stepped Elara in her blazing yellow raincoat, carrying a small wooden box. She didn't light a candle or turn on a machine. Instead, she knelt in the middle of the street and carefully lifted the lid of her box. Against the solid, crushing gray, the tiny ladybug stone, the miniature dragon twig, and the bright, rusty sun gear seemed to glow with a brilliant inner light. They weren't generating electricity, but their colors were so sharp, so unexpected, that the light was enough. The panicking townsfolk stopped. Mayor Sterling, who had been muttering about lost schedules, froze. He stared at the sleeping ladybug and the little sun. A small, unfamiliar twitch appeared at the corner of his mouth, almost a smile. He reached down, but not for Elara's box. He picked up a damp, fallen, red-gold autumn leaf that had landed beside his foot. Monoton didn't instantly turn into a rainbow. The buildings stayed gray, and the streets remained practical. But the people started looking sideways. They saw that the most powerful magic wasn't changing the gray town into something else. The most powerful magic was simply changing how you looked at it, and remembering that beauty is found where you decide to search for it.